If you feel like you're in the exact same place you were at the beginning of this year or even the year before, or if you've been living the same boring, unfulfilled day on repeat with no change, this video is for you. Because every single day you delay changing your life, you're stealing from your future self. And the version of you that exists 90 days from now is either going to thank you or resent you for what you do today. So watch until the end because I'm going to walk you through 5 principles that have helped me become happier, healthier, and richer. And if you actually apply them, you're going to completely change your life and become unrecognizable in the next 90 days. I don't want to waste your time, so let's get right into it. Everything truly starts with one decision, and that decision is to believe that you can actually change your life. Because most people convince themselves that their situation is permanent and that if life is bad right now, it'll always be bad. But the truth is that your whole life will change the moment you actually decide to believe in yourself. Not when you have more time, not when you find the perfect moment, and not after any other excuse that you want to tell yourself, but the very moment you choose to believe in yourself. I know this might sound like motivational fluff, but it's actually backed by psychology and neuroscience. There's a concept called self-efficacy, which is your belief in your ability to succeed. And the research shows it actually changes how you think, act, and the results you get. And I'm a big fan of the quote, "The man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right." And obviously that quote applies to women as well. But your belief literally shapes your reality. And if you don't believe change is possible for you, it won't be. If you do believe it's possible though, you'll find a way to make it happen. And at the very least, you'll actually try. Now, naturally, there's going to be some valid objections here because maybe you don't believe in yourself yet. And maybe you don't feel confident enough to do this because changing your life might seem terrifying. And that's completely fine because you don't need to believe in yourself to actually start. You just need to act like someone who believes in themselves. So start behaving like the person that you want to become, even if you don't feel like that person yet. And your actions will create evidence for your brain, and that evidence builds belief. The reason why this works is because your identity isn't fixed, it's built through your daily actions. And every single choice you make is a vote for the type of person you want to become. And you don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just need to start acting like the person who has the life that you want. Your external reality is a projection of your internal identity. And if you see yourself as someone who's disciplined, your brain will look for behaviors that match that identity. So the first step in changing your life is changing how you see yourself. And this ends up creating a powerful loop because your thoughts shape your actions reinforce your identity encourages better behavior, and that behavior creates results which strengthens your belief even more. It then becomes this addicting process where the feeling of improving and becoming someone new pulls you forward every single day. Meaningful change starts with the right belief system and mindset, but it's only the first step, which brings us to the second principle. You need to take full ownership and radical accountability for your life. This one's going to be uncomfortable for most people to hear, but it's one of the most important mental shifts that you'll ever make. Because your current situation, excluding extreme circumstances of course, is the net result of all the decisions that you've made up until this point. Now, most people will take this personally and get defensive, but this concept is actually freeing. Because if your life is the result of all of your decisions, that means that you have the power to make different decisions to get different results. It's empowering to realize that you're the creator of your own story, and that's a superpower. Obviously, not everyone starts from the same place or has the same privileges or circumstances. I think we can all agree that having a trust fund or being a Nepo baby would have been really nice. But you can either focus on what you can control and stay stuck, or you can focus on what you can control and move forward. The framework is actually simple. If you don't like something about your life and it's in your control to change, then take the necessary steps to change it. If it's not in your control, you need to accept it and move on, no matter how difficult it is to do. But here's what most people do instead. They blame other people for why their life looks the way it does. They blame their parents, their circumstances, their lack of opportunities, the economy, bad luck, and basically everyone and everything except for themselves. And every single time you blame someone else, you're giving away your power. You're making them responsible for your life instead of you. And as long as you do that, you'll always stay stuck. You have to live your life with the assumption that no one is going to come and save you. No one is going to do the exercise your body needs for you, and no one's going to build your dream career or hand you the life that you want either. And even if someone did give you everything, maybe you marry rich, that can come with its own set of problems because things that are given to you can always be taken away, and you wouldn't gain the confidence and character that comes from building something yourself. Accountability means you take ownership of both the good and the bad in your life. So when you succeed, you own it. And when you fail, you own that too. Either way, you win because you either get the result that you want and build confidence, or you learn something valuable and build character. It's a win-win as long as you learn from both outcomes. Where you are today is the sum of the decisions that you made 3, 6, and 12 months ago, even years ago, right? If you had invested your money consistently 5 years ago into the stock market, your finances would probably look a lot different today. If you had started working out consistently 3 years ago, your body and fitness would look different right now. Where you'll be 90 days from now, though, depends entirely on what you do today. Now, there are two types of people watching this right now. One type hears this and gets inspired. They realize that they have the power to change everything. The other type gets defensive and wants to list out all the reasons why their situation isn't their fault. Staying defensive will keep you stuck, but taking ownership sets you free. So take accountability, own where you are, and then decide where you're going, which brings us to principle 3. The third principle is getting crystal clear on what you actually want your life to look like. Not what your parents want and not what society says that you should want, but what do you actually want? And if you don't know what you want, the way you figure this out is to work backwards from your ideal future. So really imagine yourself 3 years from now, 5 years from now, even 10 years from now. What do you look like? What type of shape are you in? How do you carry yourself? What are you doing for work? How much money are you making? What does your social life look like? Where do you live? Who are you spending time with? The key is to get very specific in what you visualize and write all of this down. And don't skip this step either. Actually take the time to write down your goals, because studies show that people who wrote down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them compared to the people that just think about them in their heads. This is because writing forces clarity, and it takes a vague idea in your head and makes it concrete. Your brain basically processes written goals differently than your thoughts, and it signals to your subconscious that this matters. And visualization works because of how your brain's reticular activating system operates. When you consistently visualize your future self and your goals, your brain starts filtering information differently. It notices opportunities, resources, and connections that were always there but you weren't paying attention to. So you're basically training your brain to recognize what's relevant to your goals. But here's where most people actually mess up. They only visualize the end result. You need to visualize yourself doing the work as well. So visualize yourself showing up at the gym and actually see yourself working on your dreams. Research from NYU shows that people who visualize the process and not just the outcome are significantly more likely to achieve their goals. This is because you're mentally rehearsing the actions needed to get you there and not just daydreaming about the finish line. So act as if these goals have already happened, and all you need to do is show up every day and close the gap between where you are and where you're going. This way, you're not hoping it works out, you're actually executing a plan that's already decided. Now I want you to do something that most people skip. You need to create your anti-vision as well. So ask yourself what your life would look like if nothing changes. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, if you keep scrolling on social media for 5 hours a day, eating unhealthy and putting off your dreams, where will you be in 5 years? So be honest and write that down as well. This idea is inspired by a powerful concept called the Odyssey Plan. It comes from Stanford's design thinking program, and it's about prototyping your future. You basically map out 3 different possible life paths. Path 1 is the expected path. This is your life if you keep doing what you're doing right now. Path 2 is the alternative path. If your current plan completely fell apart tomorrow, what would you do instead? And path 3 is the wildcard path. If money and social expectations weren't an issue, what would you actually do with your life? This is your dream scenario with 0 limitations, and mapping out these 3 paths will give you clarity on what you actually want. This is important because you need to see where you're going before you can actually figure out how to get there. Once you have that clarity, don't make the mistake that most people make of setting way too many goals at the same time. They want to get in shape, build a business, learn a language, wake up at 5 a.m., read 50 books, and meditate every single day, all starting from 0. And then they do none of it because they're so overwhelmed. Focus on 1, maybe 2 goals max for the next 90 days. I recommend 1 professional or financial goal and 1 health related goal, because life usually changes dramatically when you fix your finances and get into great shape. Those 2 things almost always positively affect everything else. You also need to make your goals SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Don't just write down, I want to get into shape, which is obviously very vague and unhelpful. A SMART goal in this case would be, I want to lose 15 pounds and be able to do 10 pull-ups by April 1st. And here's what this could look like practically. Just commit to 1 hour of exercise every single day for your physical health, weight training, running, yoga, a sport, whatever works for your personal fitness goals. And for your professional or financial goal, start with 1 hour of focused work every day working on your business, your skill, or whatever's going to generate that wealth for you. Literally just 1 hour of deep distraction-free work, and once that becomes a habit, scale up to 2 hours and then 3 and then 4. But start with 1 to just build the habit of consistency. Make sure to also track your deep work time. I use a physical timer to track every work session and log it in a notes document. This matters because if you actually audit your work habits, you'll realize that you're working a lot less than you actually think. You might tell yourself that you're working an hour a day every day on your business, but when you actually track it, it's actually 2 hours for the entire week. Tracking your time keeps you accountable because what gets measured gets managed. Your outcomes are the direct results of your daily actions compounded over time. And what you do today might not show results tomorrow, but you'll see it 90 days from now, so trust the process. This brings us to principle 4. Goals are important, but building the right systems, habits, and environment is what actually transforms your life. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Most people fail with their goals because lasting change takes longer than comfort allows. We've all been there. You start working out, but you're sore, tired, and don't see results in 3 days, so you quit. Or you start investing your money into the stock market, but after a couple weeks or months, your account is down or barely up, so you panic and pull out. The reason this happens is because your brain wants immediate positive feedback. It wants to see that the effort that you're putting in is producing results, and when it doesn't see that, it tells you to stop. Which makes sense, right? We want to see that our hard work is paying off. But what you need to understand is that real change, the kind that actually lasts, takes time to really show up. You have to train your brain to trust the process even when the outcomes don't match the inputs just yet. This is called the messy middle, and it's where most people quit right before their breakthrough. So how do you push through the messy middle? The answer is to build systems and routines that make it easier to stay consistent. You need to design your environment to support the person you're becoming, and you need to make good habits easy to do and the bad habits hard to do. For example, let's say that you want to go to the gym in the morning. You actually don't want to rely on willpower because it's a losing game in the long term. Instead, you want to lay down your gym clothes the night before and put them right next to your bed. Set your alarm clock across the room so you have to get up to turn it off, and then have your pre-workout and water bottle ready to go. You're basically removing every possible point of friction so that when you wake up, the path of least resistance is just to put on your gym clothes and just go. You should also time block your workouts and deep working sessions by putting them in your calendar. I believe what gets scheduled gets done, so I put everything in my calendar so I know exactly what I need to do every single day without any guesswork. You have to treat these time blocks as non-negotiable commitments to yourself because this is the time you need to protect to build the life you actually want. The reason it's so important to own your time and calendar is because you need to design your day around your priorities and energy peaks. The concept of energy management is just as important as time management. You need to figure out what time of the day you have the most energy or are the most focused. So if you're a morning person, use that peak energy time for your number one priority. If it's your physical health, then make sure to work out first thing in the morning. And if it's your business, then do your deep work session first instead, but don't waste your best hours on lower priority tasks. Do them later on in the day when your energy naturally dips. With that said, building new habits takes time. Research shows it takes anywhere from a few weeks to a few months for a behavior to become automatic, depending on the habit, of course. But the key here is consistency and not perfection. Your brain is literally rewiring neural pathways through repetition, so missing one day won't totally ruin your progress, but missing 2 days in a row starts to break the pattern. That's why you need to protect your streaks. I personally use a habit tracker app to stay consistent, visualize my progress, and keep my momentum. Momentum is one of the greatest forces in the universe, and when you've got momentum going with a habit, you need to protect it at all costs, because I think we can all agree that starting anything is really hard. Getting a plane off the ground takes enormous force, but once it's in the air, it takes way less energy to keep flying. If you stop and break that momentum though, getting started again takes that same massive amount of force. So use discipline and learn to say no to things that will break your momentum. And when you integrate these habits into a routine that you do every single day, eventually it feels weird not doing them. I have a morning routine that I've been doing consistently for years, and it sets a productive tone for the rest of my day. And no, it doesn't need to be 3 hours long. It just has to work for you. I don't even think about my morning routine anymore because it's just automatic at this point. Now for the final principle, it's important to understand that life comes in seasons, and during a season of significant growth where you really want to change your life, you have to do things that most people aren't willing to do. And this means strategically isolating yourself and pulling back from distractions and from anything that doesn't serve the person you're trying to become. You have to embrace a season of discipline and isolation to give yourself the space to transform. This isn't about being antisocial or cutting people off. It's about understanding opportunity cost. You have 24 hours in a day, and if you want to dedicate 1 to 4 hours a day to building your new business or getting in the best shape of your life, That time obviously has to come from somewhere, right? You can't do everything you used to do and add on new goals on top, especially if you have a full-time job. Something has to give, and usually that means being less available than you used to be. This means that if you absolutely have to choose between working out or hanging out with friends after work, you prioritize the workout and set the right boundaries. If your friend wants to stay out late Friday night, but you know you need to work Saturday morning, you might have to say no. It might sound extreme, but these daily choices determine whether you transform or stay the same. This is because rapid growth often requires intentional isolation. You need to design your day around your goals and protect your time, energy, and focus by learning to say no. Also, just remember that this is just a season and it's not forever, but for the next 90 days, you need to be selfish with your time. This feels uncomfortable at first and you might feel guilty, but most of your friends and family will understand. And if they don't, that's okay. But if you don't give your goals the proper time and effort that they need, nothing in your life will change. You'll be in the exact same place 90 days from now, wondering where the time went. But when you come out of that season of isolation where you're healthier, where you started that project that you've been putting off, or when you fixed up your finances, you'll have so much more to give to the people that you care about. You'll be a better friend, a better partner, a better family member, because you took the time to become a better version of yourself. And to protect that momentum we talked about earlier, you need to remove yourself from environments and situations that tempt you to fall back into old patterns. If you're trying to stop wasting time on social media, you need to delete the apps. If you're trying to eat healthier, stop keeping junk food in your house. Meal prep on Sundays instead, so healthy food is the easiest option during the week. Your environment shapes your behavior, so design your environment, including the people in it, to support the life you're building. Keeping all these principles in mind will guarantee that you change your life. If you enjoyed the video or learned anything new, feel free to subscribe to the channel and sign up to my newsletter for more helpful content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.